Hello and welcome to the Dicebreaker podcast episode 11. I am Editor-in-Chief Matt Jarvis. I'm joined by three of the team this week. I'm joined by staff writer Alex Meehan. How are you doing, Alex?
Sorry, I'm just laughing because Will's in a pose that looked like
he was frightened
by
the arrival of the podcast. My God!
You look like when my cat, when we go into the bathroom, my cat's just sitting in the bath and it like turns around and was like...
You always catch them in the middle of something, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, sorry, carry on, Matt.
Meehan, how are you doing?
I am doing okay. It's June and the weather is terrible, so everything's normal as to be expected.
We're also joined by video producer Alex Lolies. How are you doing, Alex?
Hi,
No, I can't refer to you both as Alex because that's going to get incredibly confusing. I realised that I immediately went against the Dicebreaker style guide for Alex's.
Yeah,
Rule 1 of Dicebreaker.
Yeah, nobody gets to be Alex on this team. We're just our surnames.
We all go by surname, apart from Johnny, and Matt Jarvis, you have to say both names.
Yeah.
It's very simple.
Yeah.
I'm pretty good actually. I feel like I have been quite down lately, and I'm finally on an upward trajectory. So I'm feeling positive for the first time in a while. So I'm here to bring that positivity to you guys and the world.
Excellent. And completing this week's podcast lineup is Michael Wheel and Wheels. Hello, Wheels. How
Michael
are you?
Wheel and Wheels, which is apparently now the format of my name.
If I have to be Mr. Matt Jarvis and everything,
Matt Jarvis
you have to be Michael Wheel and Wheels.
It's a prestigious way to be called.
Yeah.
All right.
Just honouring you.
It's all out of affection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is. And, well, thank you for joining us if you're listening. Obviously, before we start rolling with the board game talk and tabletop RPG kind of nattering, we hope everyone's staying safe out there. Mm-hmm. Whatever your situation may be at the moment, whether it's due to the pandemic or if you're participating in protests, thank you. Or if you're unable to participate in lending your support and helping people be heard or giving your own voice, we hope you're staying safe out there. And obviously stand with everyone standing for the right things at the moment. Look after yourselves, wash your hands, and also just look out for others around you. But we will roll on with some board game news and hopefully bring a little bit of a light spot to to what's going on at the moment.
Into the immense shadow that is the existence that we are in.
Yeah, we will be the equivalent of Gandalf the White riding in on Shadowfax.
With a gleaming staff.
Yeah, with a gleaming...
Except we won't be doing anything useful.
Yeah, so like...
We're going to ride in and look really good and then go home.
No, we're definitely more the type of Gandalf who sits there and smokes the pipe.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Which is part of his staff. Did you see this whole thing going around where people were discovering for the first time in the
Yes.
films that he keeps his pipe tucked in the top of his
I
staff?
didn't know that!
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Very cool. I mean, that's down to costume design at the end of the day, isn't it? And that's very clever.
It was in the books as well.
Oh,
it's
was
worth
it?
saying.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, how
so there was a
people
load of people
discovering
immediately
it
like,
now, then?
you clearly haven't read The Lord of the Rings.
I haven't.
No, I haven't.
I own them, but I have not yet read them.
It's just a load of people, doing the
Singing.
regular thing of, the books are, whatever.
Yeah, but
it's
how
what-
come people have only discovered it now then, if it was already in the books?
I don't know. It's one of those internet things.
Matt?
People probably discussed it 10 years ago or 20 years ago when the films first came out. And now people are, circling back around to it.
Cool.
It's the internet. I thought Wills had frozen for a moment, but Wills is just deep in concentration. I was suddenly concerned.
I was looking at the. Normally I alt tab to the podcast document which we use with like the running order of the games we're playing. But I've realised I'm recording on this screen, so I'm having to get it up on my phone. That's all. That's what I was doing.
I thought you were thinking about where you put your pipe on your staff, Wills.
Oh, wow.
You had.
Please. Phrasing.
What? It's a perfectly alright question.
Let's move on, shall we?
Yeah, let's move on. Wills, what have you been playing at the moment?
Well, according to this list that I wrote, I've been playing a lot of solo RPGs, which we were briefly talking about before the podcast started. I think we actually have a question that sort of references that.
Yeah, so I pulled out a question from Callum on Twitter. Thank you, Callum, who asked, what's a good entry point for pen and paper role playing if you're a bit of a loner and want to play alone?
Yeah, so we so quite recently, obviously, if you're watching this at the time that the podcast has just gone out, then this is still going to be. I think the second one that we're talking about is still accessible, but there are 2 bundles going around right now, which are full of solo RPGs, both of which are supporting NAACP. As well as like bail relief funds and stuff like that for the general Black Lives Matter movement. It's something that we instantly jumped in on because like not only is the list of games amazing, but obviously the cause is amazing. But there's 2 that sort of like grab my attention straight away. One by, and I'm actually going to get his name up because I feel like we should probably give a shout out to the person who set it up. One was by a lovely gentleman who I tweeted about yesterday. Oh God, where is he?
Is this Kurt Potts?
Kurt Potts, yes. Sorry. Kurt Potts is an RPG designer. He's like around in the space, so obviously knows a few people and got together with a few friends or colleagues to put together like 3 bundles on his birthday, which were all like all the proceeds were going towards BLM. There is one that's like high fantasy, one that's a bit more quirky, and then the third one is solo RPGs, all 4 of which were absolutely fascinating, so that was the one that I picked up. I've never really played solo RPGs at all in my life. I don't think you have either, Matt. Like, it was not ever something that really occurred to me, but like they're all really, really cool.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I've kind of dabbled in them here and there, but mostly the role-playing I've done is with other people. I think the situation at the moment is one of those things where it's kind of inspired me to... I'm playing a lot more RPGs than I was already, but also looking at ways of doing it outside of, having to get a load of people together.
Yeah.
But yeah, I going through that. So they're both the bundles are on Itch.
Yeah.
And like you say, the it's called the Itch bundle for racial justice and equality. And as Will says, like it's an incredible cause, and it is an incredible... I think there's over 1,000 games now, so it's a mixture of video games,
RPGs, video games,
DRPGs.
there's everything in there. There's some tools as well. There's loads of asset packs if you're like looking to get into game development. Like there's so much stuff in there. You can pay as much as you want. I think the minimum donation is $5, but every cent goes towards bail funds and NAACP, and yeah, it's a really amazing thing that's happening right now. Which, if you're listening to this at the time where it's still live, I think there's another like week or so that it's running for.
I think as of the time of this going up, which will be June the 12th, it runs for another 2 or 3 days. So it runs until roughly the week of the 15th of June. But again, that's... If you're able to pick up the bundle, fantastic. If not, maybe check out some of the games that we chat about and just obviously make donations and support Black Lives Matter and the NAACP and local bail funds. There's a collective donation link going around. We've put it on the Dicebreaker social and on the website as well. And it's easy to seek that stuff out. So yeah, absolutely. Whether you're, just picking up the bundle by itself, but obviously donate to those places, support, but also check out some of these games separately or as part of that as well.
But with that in mind, I have been playing a game called Gentleman Bandit, in which you play as the eponymous Gentleman Bandit, who is basically like an old guard highwayman in the Wild West, who is like super eloquent as he asks for you to get out the carriage and give him all your money. But then whenever he gets in a fight and someone dies, he leaves a 13-line poem on the body of the person who dies. So to do that, you play with a deck of cards, you draw out 13 playing cards, and the suit will give you like a sort of motif, which could be like love or fear or something like that. And then the value of the card will give you the matter. So it will give you like a prompt question for you to like answer as part of that line of the poem. And then there's a general sort of like overlying theme that you're writing about based on either the last one that you did, you can get like a poker hand from it, and it gives you like the initial position that you're writing about, or you like there's a few different game modes, one of which I'm really fascinated about and I think I want to do for the channel. If you guys are interested, please feel free to jump in on this. You get, I think, 9 players, and every single one of them writes one of the poker hands poems, and then you plot them out either from the highest value to the lowest value, which would be like a riches to ruin story, or you plot them from the lowest value to the highest value, which would be a rags to riches story. So like everyone's writing them in isolation, but you see the story of the Bandit evolve because you're all basically playing the same character. They're always kind of intertwined, which is really, really fascinating.
Cool.
So there's a lot of those things where it's like you're playing a solo RPG, but like that doesn't mean you don't get to interact with other people as well. Like if you've got other people that you want to join in with, then you can jump in with that. And I think you were playing the machine as well, which is
I was just about to bring that up. Yeah, and I know Johnny's been playing it as well. Johnny has taken some well-earned time off this week, which is why he's not joining us on the podcast. We've both been playing the machine, which is similar to what we were saying about Gentleman Bandit in that you keep a journal, and it suggests an actual journal, like a little diary, and you create a character very quickly by picking 2 or 3 kind of main evocative words. So I was a penniless something magician.
Those are the exact ones that I picked out when I was looking at the rulebook.
Magician. Any chance to just play as a magician?
Yeah.
But the premise of the game is you're cursed, and you're cursed with this aspiration of building this kind of machine, contraption. But bad news, you're never going to finish it. You're doomed. But the game is basically creating logs in your journal about trying to work towards this machine that starts to kind of haunt your waking memories, and what you draw cards to. I think the suits generally determine an emotion, so it could be rage, it could be jealousy or pride, something like that. And then the value of the card determines a general kind of event, so it could be a breakthrough in discovering what the machine requires, or it could be something kind of in the wider world of this character. But once you draw 3 face cards or ace cards, your character suffers a downfall. So you either die or, you whatever happens, but you're unable to continue your work on the machine. But that's where it kind of gets brilliant, because the premise of the game is you do that as your character, and then you are meant to physically hand on the journal. They suggest kind of posting it in the mail, obviously with the consent of the person you're sending it to the next player.
No, just send it.
Yeah, don't just send it from
genuinely though,
friends.
like I think if you've got someone who you know would be into it, I think the premise of like receiving an unmarked package with that in would be the coolest thing that ever happened to me.
And the rules fold up on like a little trifold, almost like a menu. So obviously it's an intense game. It deals with kind of themes of obsession, of death, of all sorts of kind of darker territories. So obviously be aware of that when you're getting people involved. But the fact that you kind of play it in isolation, then you pass it on to someone else, they look at your entries, they have to pick different words to create their character, and then they will continue. It's the same machine, so you've kind of laid out the basis of what they're working towards, but they're inflicted by the same curse. And then at the end of everyone playing it, you read through the book together, and then it suggests burning it or burying it or tearing it into bits, what have you. But it's this really interesting way of making a solo RPG that you can play by yourself into kind of this shared story,
project,
like a normal RPG. So it was really, really impressive, and I really enjoyed what I've been playing of it.
Yeah, and then apart from that, like I played one called Ex Novo, which is, and I've got the map with me actually, I think somewhere here. Yeah. So this is one where you draw out a map of a fantasy city. So you'll be rolling dice and getting events based on the table. So this is the town of Besslayer, which I put together, for example. It makes you notice that you're not going to write something, you're not going to draw something that looks really pretty. Just the idea that you map out this space, and then you can go back and you can make a proper map out of it and use it in RPGs. You can then play another map-based RPG. Like there's one called Beak, Feather and Bone, I think, where you it's a map labeling RPG. So once you've got the layout, you can start to add flavor on top of that. So that was a really cool project where it was you can just play this as a collaborative experience. It reminded me of Icarus, where you're sort of building up the narrative of a city, going through the years and facing events and stuff.
Yeah. Are there any crabs in your city, Wills?
There aren't any crabs. There is a swamp monster. However, I have been playing Civilization recently, and I've got loads of crabs next to my city, so that's good. But anyway, I've been absolutely astounded by the depth of creativity and the stuff that I've seen. Mainly just in that bundle, because that's what the ones that we've been looking at, but just itch.io is such an incredible space for tabletop role-playing games as a whole. There's so many incredible things that because it's such an open software, you can just write something in a Google Doc and shove it up in a day. The limit is kind of there is no limit on what you can sort of pop up on there, and like I've seen some really, really amazing stuff, and I've been completely like filled with a creative burst and drive to sort of contribute to it as well. Like it's really, really cool. I would recommend just having a look at the physical games section of Itch. And like we said, like you can get stuff like Blaze in the Dark in that bundle as well, like or Lancer.
Yeah, Lancer.
I know that you're super into Lancer.
Mech RPG. I'm itching to give it a go.
There's that really strange one called Troika, which is like
a
really sort of like quite colourful and
science
weird world.
fantasy, I think is how they describe it. I've not played it myself. So.
It's got like a Planescape vibe where it's like loads of different realms and stuff like that. But yeah, like absolutely amazing stuff on there. Give it a look. If you can, please try and buy the bundle because the money goes to a good cause, and also like there's just some incredible stuff in there. Like it's worth getting.
Yeah,
but I will stop talking now.
I mean, obviously, encourage people to go and watch our video as well if they're interested in checking out some RPGs.
Another thing. So I'm currently, myself and Matt have been scripting a solo RPGs list, which will be up on the channel on Sunday, and that's the Sunday coming if you're watching this on the Friday that it goes out. But that will be what day is it?
The 14th.
The 14th. There we go. The 14th of June. That'll be out. So it might already be up on the channel by the time that you're listening or watching to this. Listening or watching to. Good. Excellent. But yeah, that's going to have stuff like Gentleman Bandit and Ex Novo and The Machine and all our thoughts, like proper thoughts on it. And little spoiler, or maybe a teaser, I will be reading the first poem I wrote in Gentleman Bandit out in the voice of Pastor John Virtue. So there you go.
Nice.
There it is.
So have a look out for that.
All right. Lolies, let's move on to you. What have you been playing recently?
I mean,
Lolies!
I have to follow that. I played Yahtzee, Scrabble.
Right, we've got these like out there solo RPGs, and Lolies like, right, I'm bringing it back down to the.
No, I also
classics.
played. I bought a copy of Patchwork about 2 weeks ago. From a lovely local board game cafe, so been playing that. If you're watching, you can see.
Patchwork's really good. I really like Patchwork.
It's funny because I got it. I really wanted it for ages because like I need more 2-player games to play with like my boyfriend. But now there's 3 of us. Like because we moved house, we've got a housemate now, and now there's 3 of us. We're usually playing the 3 of us together. So I was like, well, I can't really play Patchwork without leaving someone out. But I did get around to playing it a couple of times, which was nice. And I played Catan, which I never get to do. And that was good, I won.
That's the only reason I enjoyed it, but yeah.
Yeah. And then I also played it because... so it's my housemate's copy, and she's also got the expansion Explorers and Pirates, which has a couple of different ways that you can play it with the expansion. And we played the first one, which is called Land Ho, where you essentially like discover new land and you can like settle there. And I have to say, I wasn't that impressed with it. Like, it's fine, it's different, but like you don't have the robber in it, which actually made a huge difference. I thought it was just like a bit.
I can imagine them taking out the most aggressive part of Catan not being a favourable change for you.
No, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's another mode where you can play like with pirates, and then that kind of takes the robber back in. So like, I haven't played the other kind of modes that you can play in that expansion, but that initial one, it just felt a bit like, and it wasn't just me. Like my boyfriend, even who doesn't play a lot of board games, he was like, oh, I don't know, just felt a bit flat. I don't know if you guys have tried that expansion, but that mode anyway didn't impress me. I definitely want to try some of the other ones and see how they go. But yeah, that's pretty much what I've been playing. Just playing some physical board games, which is nice. Haven't been doing that for a while, you know. So.
Yeah, I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Just everything tabletop sim for a while.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's one of the things that I wanted to touch on in the solo stuff as well. Like, it's nice to get back to physical things, because I've been playing loads of RPGs recently, but they've all been on like Roll20 or Tabletop Sim or Discord or whatever, and like just having just writing was really nice, and just rolling dice, and like Ex Novo uses tokens, so like I got the cubes from Pandemic, and they were like the population of the city, and it was just really nice to be able to physically do things.
Feels like to hold a card.
It's been 20 years.
Here's the thing, it's like a lot of them are just played with a deck of playing cards and like a D6, like a 6-sided die. So
like
so
a
easy, so-
D6. Like
I knew you were going to. As soon as he said that, I knew you were going to do that. Oh my god.
Alex Meehan,
Oh,
what have you been
goodness.
playing?
I have been playing. I'm really sorry, everyone. Apologies. Please forgive me.
You've
Didn't
not been
play
playing
Scythe.
Scythe.
I
Oh
didn't
my
play Scythe
god.
This week. I know.
No!
Shut the podcast down. Cancel it. It's
Can't believe it. Can't believe it.
You've
let everyone
taken
down,
the
though.
only thing that is like that happens
Sacred.
week to week on the podcast, and you've destroyed it. You've taken
mean-
the
The
thread
strong
that has
foundation, yeah.
the thread that has been woven through each podcast, and you've just cut through it.
Look, okay. Maybe the viewers and the listeners just need a break from the Scythe update.
I mean,
Okay.
we needed a break. We didn't get one, so why not?
Look, my friends are busy. Couldn't find anyone else to play with at the time.
Aww.
You know, like I'm not playing against the AI because they just wiped the board with me even more. So, maybe we'll see a comeback one day. You never know. There's something to look forward to. So instead of Scythe, I've been playing Keyforge.
Mhm.
They released, so Fantasy Flight a little while ago released a selection of free decks for people to download and print. I do not have a printer because, as we all know, printing ink is expensive.
We do
So-
all know this, yeah.
Yeah, we all know this. So luckily I managed to find a mod on Tabletop Simulator. Yada yada yada, buy games, yada yada. Containing those decks. So I
nice.
played with another person. This is the first time I played using the new Mass Mutation expansion. And there's some interesting things in there. It adds like...
Did you get a big
little
dino?
Sorry?
Did you get a big dino?
No, I didn't find the big dino in my deck. It might have been in
Dino.
there because I was playing with the Saurian House, which are the dinos, but I couldn't find the big dino in there. No, but it did have the cards that had been enhanced with extra bonus. Like, so when you play them, you get extra things, which works interestingly well with some of the other cards that have been added to the decks because they're playing around more with. If your card does this as a bonus action, it can also do this, or it can like do this. So they've clearly designed cards to work with that mechanic. So it's not just here's a nice thing you get extra for playing these cards. As with Keyforge, as it goes, like because the decks are randomly generated, my deck was okay. It was Saurian Sanctum, which they're bringing back with this expansion, and they're kind of like paladin warriors. And the other one was Untamed, that I was playing with, like the beasts and things. And my opponent had Sanctum, Dis, and another one. But like, I will say this, and Wills will not be very happy, but I don't think the Saurian House is very good. I just think that it leans too much. No, hear me out. It leans too much on the exalt mechanic, which I don't think is very good. Like, in theory, it's cool, but I just think it leaves too much open for your opponent to take advantage of. Like,
Yeah, but that's
Meehan.
risk reward, man.
yeah, but
What does
some
the-
cards
The
force
exalt
you to
mechanic
exalt.
the exalt mechanic, for those of you who haven't played Keyforge before, is a new mechanic they introduced with the Saurian expansion, which I think was
I
the
think it's
purple one.
Worlds Collide.
Worlds Collide. So basically, it means that when you there's an action in the game from the get go called capture, which means that you take one of the enemy's resource, which is called Ember, and you put it on one of your cards, and they have to kill that card to get it back so they can spend it. Exalt puts an Ember from the supply on your card, but it acts as if it's been captured. So if the enemy manages to kill you, they still get that Ember, and it wasn't theirs to begin with. So there's a massive risk in the fact that you could be giving your opponent Ember by using it. But by exalting, you not only get like special versions of the powers on the cards, but there are certain cards that allow you to take ember off of your cards and put it into your supply.
Can I just say, those cards are extremely rare. I was
They
playing
might be in
for,
the
like,
decks in the new set, but they were like pretty prevalent in the purple expansion. But that might be a balancing thing.
The deck I was playing, I didn't come across a single card that allowed me to take that ember off.
That might be why you didn't like the Exalt mechanic.
It was
because, like,
awful.
Every time I've played Saurian, they seem to be the most powerful part of the deck.
I think the idea of it is cool, but when maybe it was just unlucky, maybe I just wasn't drawing those cards because I didn't get to the end of my deck, but I was getting there, and I didn't come across any cards that allow me to take that ember off and put it in my pool. Like, the best I could do was move it around, or like move the opponent's ember from their cards around. Like, I couldn't get it off to go in my supply, so I was playing these cards that had cool effects but also meant that they were exalting, and my opponent was just killing them and getting this ember for free, which was obviously not great. Like, and also they were playing a load of taunts as well, which was awful because there were certain cards in there that were stealing my ember and I couldn't kill them. I couldn't kill those minions because they were putting down essentially a wall of taunts that I had to... and I kept forgetting they had taunts.
Does taunts
every
mean
time...
they have to be attacked first before the other... Okay, right.
So taunts have to be attacked, and these taunts were beefy, like big boys. So it meant, like, when I was like, oh, I'm going to attack this one, haha, I'm going to, get rid of it, and it's annoying power, and then my opponent was just like, no, you're not, and then pointed to, like, a taunt they've got, and I'm like, so, I think Mass Mutation overall is very interesting. It was interesting to play with Sanctum. They're actually quite a good house.
They're really strong, actually, yeah.
Yeah, they are quite really strong. They have some really interesting, like, combos, even with other houses, so... That was fun. And last night I played Point Salad.
Hey.
On Tabletop Simulator. There's a really good scripted version on there that basically refills the market whenever you take cards off. Matt Jarvis is nodding. He's nodding.
I've played that mod. It is really, really good.
Yeah, it's really good. And it sets the game up for you as well, depending on how many players you've got, which is really cool. And... yeah, we had a lot of fun. I taught it to some new people. We were playing with 5 people. And there was one person who just loved onions. Just couldn't get enough of them
Massive
onions.
Shrek fan.
Massive, yeah.
I really like on Tabletop Sim because you can get scripts where things just appear, but there are things that like lay them all out in order. So like there's a bit of B-roll in the Tabletop Sim vid on the channel where it's like, I think it was a what's it called, Splendor. And like you press the button to set it up, and it all just goes.
Yeah,
it's like, ooh, yeah.
It's like the bit in Microsoft Solitaire where it like fires all the cards around. It's like that, but more satisfying.
Yeah, this Point Salad one.
Oh, there we go. Your camera went a bit there.
Yeah, this Point Salad one was just like when you pressed like how many players you got, it shuffles the cards in real time in front of you, and then like lays out how many cards are in each row. And I was just like, yeah, it's really cool.
Love that. Love that.
And I came last in the first game because I was just really unlucky with the fact that I took cards at the start, like point cards that required onions. So that was a poor show. And then the second game I came third.
Isn't there a thing where you can just flip your cards?
Yeah, but I'd also taken cards that were minus certain veg, and the card on the other side of those point cards were the particular veg. But no, we had a lot of fun and they enjoyed it. So Point Salad.
It's definitely become one of those. It's become one of my kind of go-to games of what do I introduce to people that don't really play a lot of like modern board games. So like I taught it to my mum, who hadn't really played any board games, and then we were introducing her to things like Azul or Camel Up, and Point Salad was just one of those ones that instantly stuck. Like I think it's really, really good. Like I'd put it right next to Sushi Go.
Yeah.
In just terms of like it's quick, it's super easy to understand, but it's also, it does some really interesting things with flipping the cards and the way that they double as both points and ways to get points.
Yeah.
It's real good. Good old point salad.
I introduced it to my family as well, and they don't play a lot of board games, and they rather enjoyed it. I think the art style's quite nice as well, personally. I think it's just very clean
pleasant.
and
Super play.
The colours are nice. What a succulent pepper that is.
A succulent meal.
A succulent
vegetable
Chinese meal.
Oh dear.
Oh God.
Get your hands off my gourd!
Before we
Mr.
descend into
Jarvis.
just recounting YouTube videos from 15 years ago.
That's our
Yeah.
entire
You've been
brand.
playing.
As well as a lot of solo RPGs, as Will said. So after I played some in the bundle, I went and picked up Quill, which is a very, very good solo RPG about writing letters, which I thought was fantastic. So you don't have to be good at writing letters. You can basically dress up paragraphs as much as you want by creating around the edges, as long as you drop in one word from a list, and then you roll for. You have traits of like penmanship and heart, so how well you speak your emotions in the letter, how well you speak your emotions in the letter, how well your emotions come across. As you can tell, I'm
somewhat of a writer myself.
I thought when you dress up, and you had a little pause before the paragraphs, I thought
Me
you were
too.
just going to say when you dress up. So I was imagining you like in the full
Jarvis
dressed as
regalia.
a-
wig.
I was imagining
Like
like
dress-
sleeves and like
Yes!
a blue
Yeah,
kind of
that's the
velvet
vibe.
like
What are
blazer
those hats
type
on?
thing.
The flat
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
With the
Well, obviously
feather?
that goes.
The ones that
goes
look
as
like a
standard.
shower cap but like out of velvet. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a single candle burning. And apart from that, it's all
Scratching
dark.
away.
And
with
you've
a-
got the voiceover. It's like, my dear love, I have not seen you in weeks.
Well,
I
that,
yearn for your...
it's kind of the fun of this game.
I thought you said something very different.
So to get things back on track, Quill doesn't have that, but there is an expansion that is just love letters, which I haven't played, but I'm really interested to check out, because the game itself was like the base game was brilliant.
I didn't realise this, but when I was like writing the script and looking at the page, Gentleman Bandit has a module that you can buy on top where you play as the ghost of the Gentleman Bandit and you write about how you died as well, which is very cool.
And I also played Alone Among the Stars, which again I don't think is in that bundle. I picked it up separately. It's like £1.65. It's $2. But I think it's interesting what you're saying, Will's, about the solo RPGs about making maps or labeling maps. It's like a lot of these smaller games feel like they can be slotted into your normal D&D campaign or like a bigger RPG. So Alone Among the Stars it's basically a planet generation system that then adds on the fact that you explore these planets. But you can just use it as a standalone thing of you roll one 6-sided die to draw that number of playing cards, and then you flip the playing cards over one by one, and the suit and value of them determines certain factors about locations. So it's like there are ruins on a glacier, or there's a forest filled with, I don't know, plants or beings or whatever. But it feels like one of those things that you could just use to get, like you say, get some creativity or a spark of inspiration if you're trying to come up with like a custom setting for a role-playing game and you just need a location very quickly.
You're really blowing my mind here, Matt Jarvis. A forest full of plants. I
Yeah,
never
yeah.
thought such a
He
thing
said
was
that, I was
possible.
like, oh yeah.
I don't have the rules in front of me.
This is why Matt needs random generators, alright?
My
A
entire...
glacier on the moon. And
I'm
the
actually just
forest
drawing
full of
cards
plants.
off screen to determine the sentences I say. I failed my last roll. And the other thing I've been playing, which I think you might have mentioned last week, Lolies, is Rallyman GT.
Yeah,
which
I
I've
mentioned it in terms of we played it briefly in preparation for the live stream that we did with Mike Channel from outside Xbox, which we then played on the live stream, and it was great.
With my channel from outside Xbox.
Now-
It was really good.
Now, Mike is somewhat of a, shall we say, a car aficionado.
Oh my
isn't
lord!
he?
Yes, he did an intro at the beginning where he like talks about the track, and oh my god, it blew my mind.
Because I literally just went, oh well, Mike, you know about race courses. We're like, what have we got out here for us? And I was expecting him to go, oh, well, just like do a quick joke. Literally like plot by plot, every single corner. Like, well, as you come up to the apex of this corner, you're going to be going through a tunnel, so your eyes are going to need to adjust to the light. It's going to make it a little bit more difficult to get around. But you're going to get into the chicane where it's going to have just like a really nice straight driving line for you. We were like, what is happening?
It was so
It's
good.
really good.
If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's so good.
Also, the game is brilliant. Yeah.
The game is so good. I think Johnny's after buying it, actually.
I think he already has, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like I'm no Mike Chow, but in terms of it feels like a driving simulator compared to something like Downforce, which I also really love. But that game is very much like you bid on the cars and then you're just racing them. It feels almost like a drag race because it's just how fast you go, the cards you play. Whereas here, your driving line matters and changing gear at the right moments matters. But there's also a little bit of luck in rolling dice to see if you can change gear or whether you biff it and like spin out or stall off there's an advanced rule where you can try and jump start straight into second gear off the line. But if you fail the second gear die roll, you just stall, you jump forward one space, but your speed resets back to 0. So there's some really interesting little tweaks in there, and it just feels really like customizable in terms of you can plot out your own custom tracks. There's weather mechanics, there's tire mechanics, so you can change your tires. You can pull into a pit stop and repair damage to your car. It's really impressive, but it's not overwhelming at all. It still runs quite quickly, particularly once you've got everything down, but it feels like, oh, okay, I need to, I'm not a driving expert by any means, but it's like, oh, I need to move into the middle lane to take the driving line through this corner. Otherwise, I'm going to spin out or take it at the wrong angle, and it's going to be less
it's
effective.
very much that thing where it's like the mechanics make so much thematic sense that you don't need to know about driving because the mechanics make sense. But you also, if you know about driving, the mechanics will also enable you to show that and be like, oh, okay, yeah, it makes sense that I would have to push out to the outside so that I can get more of a better angle on this corner. And then it will literally be like the corner, if you go on the inside line, it will be longer and easier to get past in a quicker fashion. But then there'll be certain restrictions, like if you're going to go straight into this, you need to be in a lower gear than you would be if you were sort of like careening in diagonally and stuff like that. So it feels like it's been built by someone who really loves driving and like has really communicated it really well.
And there's GT is like a multiplayer kind of remake, reboot, sequel, spiritual successor to the original Rallyman, which came out in 2009. It's like a very kind of cult indie game. I think there were only like 1,000 copies made or something like that, maybe a few hundred. But they've actually announced that the original Rallyman is coming to Kickstarter, I think, in July. So I'm really interested to check that out because that was all about kind of dirt tracks rather than the kind of asphalt tracks in GT. So I think there's extra elements of skidding and sliding and jumping over ridges, and so it feels like it could dive more into the elements that I really enjoyed about GT.
Yeah, I think if we get together to play that game, Mr. Jarvis, I think we should really get into like the feel of the game and the character of the game.
Wear helmets.
We should have buckets full of mud that we should throw on each other if
and then
we
shoes
skid
full
off.
of champagne.
Yeah.
Wasn't there like a comedy bit where people were when they green screen, people are in a car and they green screen? I think there is some comedy sketch show somewhere or some kind of Saturday night entertainment thing where they have to do that, but they're just getting pelted in the face with buckets of water. Or that's what we need. We need to build.
That's what this website really needs to bring it next to the next level.
Yeah, we'll play Rallyman in a car and in Wheels' car, right? And then we'll just bring loads of buckets of mud and stones.
Yes,
and
please.
Stuff
For
like
legal
that.
reasons, please do not play board games while driving. Shall we move on to news?
Also, please don't do a dirt track rally in a Peugeot 108. Oh god. Let's do some news.
All right. We covered the incredible itch bundle that's out there. A small piece of teasy news, which Alex Meehan covered, is Massive Darkness 2.
Oh, I thought it was going to be something Monopoly related. Boo.
No Monopoly
More
news this week.
massive, more dark.
I know. I'm really letting the side down this week. No Scythe, no Monopoly. Sometimes things have to just change and we become different people. And sometimes Monopoly will always be there, and I'm sure it will come back to spite me once again in due course. So don't worry, listeners and viewers. Tis inevitable. A sun rising in the east.
Anyway, this
Massive
news.
Darkness 2. Yeah. I was getting to it.
I know you want to hear about the ball main, but I do have to make a lament about the fact that there's no Monopoly news this week.
I was answering Lolies. So Massive Darkness 2 is, if the name doesn't give it away, a sequel to the game Massive Darkness, which is like a dungeon crawler that's inspired by RPG mechanics and published by Come On.
Come on.
Yeah, come on.
Come on, board games.
The original came out a few years ago, and it seemed to do quite well. People seem to like it. And there was a teaser trailer released last week for the sequel, which I think is coming to Kickstarter. I don't know when. Maybe Matt Jarvis knows. There was no confirmation.
There's currently no confirmation whether Massive Darkness 2 will be making its way to Kickstarter, says this Dicebreaker.com news story. The teaser trailer is very much a teaser.
There's like nothing in there. It's just like pictures of artwork, and like they fade out like a PowerPoint presentation, and then it's just like pieces of text on it. That's presumably meant to pump you up.
I don't know if you've ever had to make a video trailer whether you don't have any assets, but trust me, like I'm sure they did what they could.
I'm sure they're doing the best they can. It's mostly just vague things about there's shadows and the demon, and you got to go in there, and you love it. And that's frankly kind of all we've got at the moment. I'm sure we'll find out more when it goes on Kickstarter.
If it goes on Kickstarter, I can't imagine it won't. Knowing what Come On is like, everything goes on Kickstarter. I think the trailer ends with an indication it's coming out this year. Presumably it will surface on Kickstarter relatively soon.
It just says coming in 2020. We don't know what's coming, whether it's the Kickstarter or the game itself, but it's coming.
Also, definitely on Kickstarter at the moment. I think should still be on Kickstarter by the time people read this. Alex, Meehan, you've also covered this. It's Roll, which is a really hard thing to say. It's ROLE.
Roll.
ROLE, so just roll.
Yeah, but as in, it's called Roll, and it's a role play. You just end up saying Roll all the time because Roll is a role-playing platform for role-playing games.
Yeah.
Where you can roll dice. It's just, it's not the most standout name in the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it says what it is, I guess, for efficiency's sake. But, it looks really interesting. We were saying, weren't we, Mr. Jarvis, that we'd be interested to give it a go. It's
it's the one that looks like Tinder for half-orcs. Is that the...
Yes. It's like Roll20, but not bad. Hopefully.
Whoa.
Hot takes going on here.
Roll20 is quite like it's a good platform, but it shows its age.
Yeah, it looks like it was made by the same people who made Stonehenge back in the oldie times.
Wow.
It's just like, oh, you can do like voice and draw stuff, but your abilities and your stats and stuff, good luck trying to work out how to put those in, you idiot. But
I will say that whilst we're dunking on Roll20, whoa, Meehan's take was so spicy she's left the call. I think that's big Roll20. Well, great. Now that we've just swapped positions, that's going to be really fun on the recording.
Sorry. Sorry.
What I was going to say, was before we dunk too much on Roll20, there is I've been playing a lot of Blades, and I think mainly, I don't know if they're like fan character sheets that have been made or if they've been provided by Evil Hat, but like the character sheets that are interactive for things like Blades and Aegon and stuff like that are really, really good. Like if you when you're setting up a game, there's a little drop down where you choose what character sheets you're using. And if you play games that aren't Dungeons and Dragons and have character sheets that are good, then you can have like interactive buttons and like little things to fill in and stuff. Like they're really nice, and then you literally just click on a stat and it rolls it for you. It's really good.
I think that's the roll. So I don't use loads of Roll20 simply because those aren't the kind of RPGs I tend to play anymore. Like a lot of my stuff is Theatre of the Mind, so it's over Discord. But like personally, I think like Roll, the thing with it is it just looks slick. Like it's got a really nice interface. It's kind of simplified. I don't think it's trying to go for exactly the same thing as Roll20 because there haven't been, like hex maps or squares or things like that. It seems to largely be like a video chat program like Discord, but with the ability to have a character sheet at the side and to have dice rollers built in.
Yeah.
To be honest, that's all I want. That's all
Yeah.
I want.
I'm with
That's the
you.
thing.
And they... Oh, sorry, Meehan.
Yeah, I was just going to say apparently it supports pretty much every single RPG under the sun. Like, they don't have DRM. You can just input to your character sheets in there. They have a marketplace where you can kind of see a wide range of different RPGs and people's recommendations. They have some exclusive content releasing on there. Content. That word. For various RPGs, such as Lancer. Mr. Jarvis. Yeah.
And Swords Fall, which also...
Oh,
looks
yes.
really great.
Yeah. Swords Fall being designed by a lovely chap that we had a really, really cool panel with in PAX West, right when the channel was just launching.
Brandon Dixon? I hope I
think
remember.
so, yeah.
I remember his designer's name right.
He's like an incredibly interesting man. I will say, like he's got like this wealth of knowledge of like African culture and stuff like that, which is really, really interesting.
Yeah, it looks really interesting. They have a matchmaking system as well, which is where the dating half-orcs things come from. Where you can find other role players for specific games or levels of games, as well as find GMs as well, which I think is like a really excellent idea, because people, like, we constantly get questions from people being like, how do I find other people to play with? Like, it's honestly one of the hardest things to do when playing tabletop role-playing games, particularly ones that aren't as common, like D&D and Pathfinder. And it looks like the marketplace is really supporting indie creators and off the grid kind of RPGs, which I'm always down for. So we will wait and see. But
So
it
hasn't launched yet then, no?
no,
so
it's on Kickstarter.
till June the 19th. I'm reading in this story from Dicebreaker.com. So
Shout out to Dicebreaker.com for providing the details on this story.
So there's an early access plan for later this year. When it launches next May is the current plan. It will be free, but you can then pay a subscription to access some of the exclusive bits and some extra features, things like that. Like Meehan says, all the stuff they sell through the marketplace, so even the exclusive RPGs are DRM free, so you can take them anywhere, you can play them outside of it. And they're also opening up the platform in general, so you can make custom character sheets and so on. So it's not just, is the game supported? There's always the option to add stuff in there. So it seems really cool. Hopefully it's as good as it looks. Like, it looks very swish. It's got a really clean interface. I suppose it will just depend on whether the support is there from the people that want to put that effort in to make those custom bits, and whether it kind of takes off and is able to compete with, because there are so many ways of doing it, like Discord, Roll20, whatever have you. So whether it's able to find a place alongside those. But it looks very interesting. All right. Let's scroll down and find. Oh, this is a story I wrote. One of the very few that I wrote this week, because Meehan has been absolutely nailing the news this week. Modern Art, the card game. Modern Art, the card game. Anybody played Modern Art, the non-card game?
No.
I know about Modern Art. I haven't played it though. Is that the Rhino Knizia one, right?
It is Rhino Knizia. Yes. There's always a good
our old
1
friend.
million games.
There's always a good chance you can guess that a game is Rhino Knizia, and it will be.
Yeah, it's like It's like, if you don't know what something is, always go for that as your guess. Oh yeah, that's is it Rally Kinetia? No?
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
There should be a flowchart of like, okay, how to figure out designer of game. First question:
How to pretend
is
you've
it
heard
right?
of something in board games.
So, Monarch, for those who haven't played it, was a game. It came out in like '92. It's an auction game about bidding on art. So you have a hand of cards. They are paintings by contemporary artists. You put them up for auction, and then people bid on them. Sorry. And at the end of a round, depending on how many paintings by each of the artists have been purchased, their value differs. So there's kind of like a supply and demand thing going on. You can bid on your own paintings to potentially bump up your own values, things like that. It's a really fantastic game. And I think a couple of years ago, 2017 maybe, Come On, who making another appearance in this news section, put out a new version of it with kind of spruced up art and things like that.
Really pretty. Really pretty. I
When
think
you
we should say that I think it's pronounced Simon, by the way, before someone gets angry at us.
No,
I don't care.
I got into this discussion the other day because Eric Lang, who is head of designer, Come On, pronounced it Simon, but they used to be called Cool Mini or Not, which has like a hard C and stuff like that. And I don't know, it just doesn't sit right with me calling it Simon.
Simon sounds.
It doesn't.
Sounds like a.
What does
like
it sound like,
Digimon
Meehan?
We know-
or something.
What
know
does it
what it
sound like, Meehan? David
No,
Simon.
I was going to say it sounds like a Digimon like character, Simon.
Possibly, yeah.
By the way,
I was
Matt
just
Jarvis,
thinking of famous England goalkeeper David Simon.
when you said when you accidentally said betting on the art, I was imagining
the
people like
exact same.
rolling portraits around or something and being like, yeah,
They're just
like,
shuffling forwards. Anyway,
And in first place, it's the Scream. Coming in second, it's...
So, Modern Art the card game. It's another kind of revamp of an existing game. It's coming out of Come On again. There was a game that came out in 2009 called Masters Gallery, I think it was called, which was kind of a spin-off to Modern Art. But it wasn't about auctions, it was about just collecting sets of paintings to put in your gallery. So there was no bidding, nothing like that. You just play cards from your hand in front of you, and then there's a similar thing of, depending on how many cards by certain artists are out, there's a different value, you gain points, so on. So Modern Art the card game, which I think was like an alternative title for Masters Gallery. This is the world of board games, where it's like, this is a remake of a game that also used to be called this, which is a spin-off from another game which has different mechanics but a similar theme. So Modern Art the card game from this year is basically that game. So you're playing cards with paintings in front of you. Depending on how many cards by each of the 5 artists there are, you score different points.
Are there any art? Is there any art by Egon Schlee or not?
I don't believe so. So, judging by this, for those of you in the knowledge of art, which I'm not, there appear to be 5 artists: Denise, Gillian Tan, Wagner, Kuro. This doesn't work. I immediately realised because some of these cards are fanned, and therefore I can't see the entire names. So let's just cut that short. But there are 5 artists.
That's a shame. Come on.
This is a great segment.
Big up the Egon Schlee fan group.
The man
But it should be out as of this recording because it was released on June 12th. So they announced it only a few days ago, and it's already out. So
That's board games.
Well, that makes a nice change from announcing it and then just months and months and months passing and not saying anything about it, and then eventually just throwing it out there. I mean, oh yeah, we released that.
There are two types of release in board games. Either here's a press release for something that's already in shops, or here's something that we're going to maybe release in the next 10 years.
Here's something we released, a week ago, and it's already sold out, and now you have to wait 5 years to reprint it.
Good luck.
But it's worth saying that Modern Art, the original, is extremely good, and there is a fantastic edition of it from Oink Games, the Japanese studio that makes Fake Artist Goes to New York and Insider and so on, which fits into their kind of classic tiny box, which is probably the best looking version of it. But the common version is arguably easier to find and is also very good looking. Rolling on with the news, here's a quick one. Fort, which is the new game from Leader Games, who make Root. Although it's not connected in any way other than it has the same artist, Carl Ferrin, is coming out this summer. It's due for a release in August.
Yeah, amazing.
What date?
They haven't said a precise date yet that is coming, but they've said it will be out in August. Its development's completed, production's
My
on
birthday's
the way,
in August.
basically. So
Is mine, Loli.
Oh my
Wow.
god.
Oh no! Are we all going to get it for each other as a birthday present?
Yeah. Well, we can't really
Do a
surprise.
gifting triangle. Fort is an amazing deck builder that we had the privilege of playing at, I think, PAX East, was it? It is a remake of a game called SPQR, which was a pretty popular little...
SPQF.
SPQF.
Yes.
Come on, Wales.
Sorry, I just thought Rome, to be honest.
Yeah, so it was like a play on the Rome thing, but it was set in a forest, so the F stands for
Right.
forest. So
Got it.
weirdly enough, SPQF had like an animal theme, like animals in armor being Roman whatnots, which would have fit really well with Root, you would think, which takes place in a world where animals are kind of anthropomorphic and so on. But instead they decided to make it about kids.
But
forget about that,
Fort.
because the theme in this game is
Yeah.
amazing.
So
Like every
good.
little bit of it is just so joyful. Like we've talked about it on if you want to hear our thoughts, there is a Today We Played on the channel where we wax lyrical at how much we love that game. But yeah, it's
Pizza,
fantastic.
toys, all my favourite things.
P-I-Z-Z-A.
Oh god! Have you ever watched Kids Next Door as a child, or still do? Because
Yeah, I did.
It's really that kind of vibe. It's very
I'm
good.
really excited to try it because firstly it's a deck builder and I love deck builders. Two, Leader Games. Three, the theme just sounds really fun. So can't wait. Canny wait to get my hand on that.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. That's all for board game news. In some Dicebreaker related news, sadly, as of today, which is June the 12th, Sarah Elsom is leaving us. Is kind of moving on from the team. Those of you who obviously have been watching and reading Dicebreaker will know Sarah is part of the editorial team, is a staff writer, and is also Eric in Dungeon Breaker, who coined the immediately iconic phrase, "I've got loads of money." It's
loads of
incredible.
money.
So we're obviously really sad that Sarah's moving on from the team. We'll miss them sorely, but I'm sure you'll continue to see them pop up around the site and around the channel, hopefully going forward. If you're, hopefully you've read everything Sarah's written over the last year or so since the site's gone live. But if not, go and check out. Go and check out their.
7 months.
Since October.
Or so, Lolies.
Time is meaningless.
But go and check out their brilliant preview of King's Dilemma, which they then ran and talked to the team on video, which was also very entertaining. Go and check out their interview with Ian Livingston of Games Workshop fame about Warhammer, the early days of Warhammer, Games Workshop, and bringing D&D to the UK. If you didn't see our playthrough of Boy Problems, the Carly Rae Jepsen RPG,
Oh my god, yes.
where they played a robotic Carly Rae Jepsen clone.
So
Carly Rae
Were they
Jepsen
just called
murder
Carly
bot.
Rae Jepsen, the robot?
CRJ or something like that.
Yeah, but just incredible. And then, of course, Dungeon Breaker, the first season of Dungeon Breaker, which is already up, where they played Eric, as I said. Dungeon Breaker will continue in the relatively near future, but like I say, we'll miss Sarah terribly and look forward to seeing what they're going to do next. So thank you for everything, Sarah. And
we love you.
we do. Moving on to, let's take some email, shall we? From the audience.
Email.
If you want to send in a question or comment or whatever have you, if you want to send the latest hot memes of 2005 to Wheels, get in touch at podcast@dicebreaker.com or at us at Join Dicebreaker on Twitter. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, all of those places. Shall we take this one from Nix? news. Alex Meehan. Actually, Alex, you read a load of news. Alex Lolies, would you like to read this one from Nick's, which is at the top of the list?
Sure. All hail glorious Dicebreaker team.
Whoa.
I really hope everyone has like a portrait of us on their walls.
Like Hypnotoad.
I think if Johnny was here, he would be intervening with "This is not a cult." This is written by Nix. I'm just reading out. I'm just about to finish DMing my first D&D campaign, Lost Minds of Phandelver, and we'll be moving on to Storm King's Thunder. How do you guys approach preparing for a new campaign and or a game session? It is something I'm having difficulty in getting the hang of. And then a little frowny face. Loving the work you're all putting in. Keep it up, Nix.
I'll probably abstain from this one because I don't use modules. But I just I would say like it's nice to have a season break. Also, there's something that I've been getting into in my RPG groups that I've been running like. Ooh, you're right there, Matt.
Sorry.
Something I've been running into, like, it's something we do with Dungeon Breaker where you have a season break. It can be really nice to have, like, a break and just play different characters for a little bit, to run a little one-shot or, like, a different system or something. Because it allows you to try out new things and to also just refresh your brain a little bit. And then when you come back in, you're not just like, oh, okay, right, now what are we doing sort of thing. Like, it gives you a bit of a creative spark and you can drag some of the elements that you liked into some of the stuff that you add into it as well.
I also don't tend to use many modules or kind of pre-made adventures, but I think in terms of just like plotting out a new campaign is something we've kind of mentioned on this podcast before, because this is quite a common question I think that comes up. It's intimidating for a lot of people, and it's that thing of, particularly when you're playing with a group of friends, like people that you know that you'll be playing with regularly, is don't put too much pressure on yourself. You know, you can plot out just a single session. It can be quite loose. You don't necessarily need to know the whole arc of 15 episodes because, you know, at some point it'll probably go off the rails a little bit. Your party might take a different path, and then you'll feel like you've put in the work, or you'll be scrambling to try and come up with a way of getting it back on. There's the risk of kind of railroading people and forcing them into a story they don't, you know, that they've moved away from. So I think it's that thing of just be flexible, don't put too much pressure on yourself. You know, if you've got ideas that are interesting to you, you know, jot them down somewhere, but don't feel like you have to cram them in. You know, they can always be saved for another session or another campaign even. And I think it's similar with modules, although I don't play loads of them, is they obviously exist to be very handy kind of frameworks and kind of like a through line. But you can always throw in extra things, and if you feel confident after a couple of sessions moving away from the module because you feel like your party's taking it in a different direction, or you've got an idea that works better with the world that they're in, you know, do that.
Nicely said, Mr. Jarvis. I would probably just say I don't know how to phrase this because I've used modules before. I'm not a huge fan of them.
I feel like every answer on this is going to be like, well, we don't use modules, but...
I would say don't make the mistake I did and not, like, check over stuff beforehand, because modules are great for people who want to have a framework to work with, so like an overall plot and like NPCs and you know threats and challenges to present their players with, but they do still require some legwork from the GM beforehand. So you know, just maybe like make little notepads and things, or like sticky notes of like, remember particularly stuff like, you know, NPC attacks and, you know, what they do and like kind of what the overall kind of, you know, direction of the plot is going to be, just so that you don't potentially overlook stuff in the midst of managing the campaign, because D&D source books are like that. They'll have like little bits of information there that are kind of important, and then you're like, oh no, I forgot that, and things are going in the toilet. So yeah, don't overdo it, but also organization is good.
Well, I've never run an RPG campaign, so I cannot Yeah, can't add to this, I'm afraid.
Lolies, what do you think about snack preparation? Do you think...
For playing RPGs?
Yes.
I always think you need to bring as many snacks of different varieties as possible. So bring some chocolate, bring some crisps, bring, something salty, something sweet, something you can like quite easily shove in your mouth that you're not
something
like
vegan.
holding on to. Something vegan, of course, yes.
Yeah.
You need a variety and like small tidbits that you can just shove in your mouth, so you're not like your hands are free to do what you need to do,
but not too
and your mouth.
sticky.
Yeah,
and
nothing
salty.
greasy or sticky.
Yeah,
No.
nothing too greasy, please.
Exactly.
Don't want to pick up your diet.
Don't eat informational tidbits as well, because those aren't nutritional.
All right, Wills, would you like to read this one from the Halfling Buccaneer?
Hello! While it seems the majority of games intend to pit players against one another, or perhaps against the game itself, I found it difficult to find games that are comfortable with allowing a mixture of both. Are there any standout board games which have successfully, or unsuccessfully, implemented a semi-autonomous / self-acting AI mechanic where the players can directly manipulate said mechanic against each other? That's from the Halfling Buccaneer.
I feel like you should have put a voice on for that, Wills, just saying.
Yar!
Yar!
Yeah, so like this is I think there's a few games where you're technically co-op, but you're trying to be like, it's almost like a man of the match kind of thing, where it's like you are competing to be the person who was the most helpful. One game that we played, which is currently on Kickstarter, I don't know when it's being released, Lolies, but we played The Great Wall, which had a similar thing to that, where like we were all technically like manning the Great Wall of China against like the invaders. And trying to like help each other to attack them, because if the invaders got through, we would all suffer the consequences. But it's all about how much like honor we earned as we were playing. So yeah, technically we were on the same side, but we were all trying to get on top of each other and be like, oh, actually it's my soldiers who took those out, so you guys suck.
Yeah,
but, like,
it happened a couple of times where like because you kind of take it in turns to place like kind of soldiers on the wall, and it would happen where I would place it on a certain segment of the wall, and then Wheels would be like, well, I'm going to go over here, because you kind of want like what was it you wanted, like not too many of different colors. So like if you were playing yellow, I was playing red, you didn't want to have too many of different colors on the same segment.
I think you shared the spoils with everyone there, so like even if you just got like one archer who turned up but you did a bit of damage, then you would get just as much of the prize as everyone else does, because like, oh well, we all did it together. But then the one guy who brought like 7 spearmen is like, what the hell, man? So yeah, it's like a really fun little like pettiness simulator. It was really good.
I think a game that does this really well is Dead of Winter. It's at its core, it is a co-op game. You are working together as the settlement to survive, the zombie outbreak, and basically prevent, achieve certain objectives throughout the game in order to win. But everyone has their own individual secret objectives, which if they don't complete, they essentially lose the game. Like, you need to do your secret objective in order to win. And some of these secret objectives are as simple as like, have these items in on your person. Others are going directly against the main objectives of the game. So to just finish the game, you need to do the main objectives, but to actually win, you need to do your secret objectives. So I think like it works really well in terms of, even people who are traitors still kind of require the game to keep going enough so that they can fulfill their objective successfully and actually win. So it balances out that we have to work together, but also I'm going to be a bit selfish with this, or I'm going to cause someone else to risk themselves so I can do this.
It's really good at like putting suspicion on all the players as well, because it's like, why are you doing this? Like, are you the traitor? It's like, no, I need to do the thing, but I can't tell you about it because it's secret.
yeah. So you can play it like that, and then you always have those eyes upon you, with everything you do. The tension.
On a similar zombie theme, there's a miniatures game for The Walking Dead, The Walking Dead All Out War.
Here's Negan, right?
No, that's the board game version of it, which is like a spin-off. Which is it's okay. It's one of those.
The Walking Dead. Matt wrote a little segment for the list, which is on the YouTube channel, which is I can't remember the number, but X amount of miniatures games that aren't Warhammer.
Yeah,
you should give that a watch.
It's really good. As someone that doesn't play loads of miniatures games, it's one of those ones that's really easy to pick up, and it stands out because it does its kind of zombie world really well. So you have competing bands of survivors, so human survivors, living survivors. But then there are zombies around the environment, and as you do actions, you'll cause noise. So if you fire a gun at someone, that's going to cause a lot of noise, which is then going to draw a load of zombies to you. So there are ways of kind of forcing your opponent into situations where they might have to make noise, or you can make noise around them to draw the zombies, and then they'll attack whoever's closest, because you're just kind of a big fleshy feeding sack for them. So
Isn't that's a very Werner Herzog thing to say? We're all just feeding sacks.
when you look into the eyes of a zombie.
You're referencing the chicken thing.
If you've never seen the video of Werner Herzog describing chickens, it is incredible. The depth of this stupidity. Apologies
really
to Werner Herzog, that's a really not good impression.
Or anyone who's from the country he's from.
Just dunking on chickens.
But
Lolies looks like she's in physical pain right now.
Lolies is a big chicken fan. So.
All Out War does not feature Werner Herzog, but it's a really good game, and it does interesting things with the zombies. Another one that comes to mind is Arcadia Quest, which is like a dungeon crawler, and you're all fighting monsters in the dungeon, but you're also kind of competing to be the top scoring player by yourself. So it has a similar thing of running around facing like monsters controlled by the game. It's pretty fast. It's light. It's one of those. Right. Wills.
Lolies.
Oh, sorry, Lolies. I'm so sorry.
This?
Yeah, sorry, I gave you an answer and then made you talk about it. Lolies, feel free to put your own input in.
No, I would have probably said that as well, actually. Yeah, they're great. I knew there was one that I was like, it was in the back of my head, and I was like, I feel like we played one kind of semi-recently, and I couldn't think of it, and then you said Great Wall, and I was like, that's the one.
If you do want to see our opinions on Great Wall, there is a Today We Played on the YouTube channel, so give that a little search.
Right, that's youtube.com/Dicebreaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
That was absolutely one of those videos where Lolies was just like messing around at the start, and there's definitely some kind of B-roll somewhere where it's just me with my head in my hands.
Yeah, I think I wore the lid as a hat or something. Yeah, it's a very big lid.
Wills, would you like to read this one? Oh wait, did you just read?
I just did the last one. Yeah.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I'm losing track of everything. Ladies read one, Wills read one. Alex, Meehan, it's your turn. Would you like to read this one from Jordan James Mayer?
Jordan James Mayer asks, this past week I finally tried some Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. We love the game mechanically, but the companion app really made the night. What other games or companion apps that you enjoy? Are there ones that rely on technology too much? Thank you for your question.
I don't like Mansions of Madness.
Oh!
I love Mansions.
Matt is a big fan of.
I'm going to be the Wills in this situation and say, you're wrong. Because Mansions of Madness is great. I really like Mansions of Madness 2nd edition. I know that companion apps in general are not for everyone. There's a lot of people that have very strong feelings about them. I wouldn't say that they are something that I gravitate to just because it has an app. But I do really like Mansions. And I do really like Lord of the Rings Journeys in Middle-earth.
Yeah, Journeys in Middle-earth, yeah.
Which is very similar to Mansions, but is Lord of the Rings. But it adds... There the app does really neat things because it tracks your character over multiple scenarios, so it's more of a kind of interlinked campaign. So it keeps track of their XP points and the items they have and events that take place and the impact they can have.
Matt Jarvis, a Lord of the Rings app I really want is one where you can talk to that orc who's really spongy. You know, the one who
Gothmog.
like, yeah. I just want an app where you can just chat to him.
I've got bad news for you because Gothmog, spoilers for The Lord of the Rings, Return of the King. Gothmog gets squished by a big rock, so you're probably not going to get a lot of conversation out of Gothmog.
More like Flatmog, am I right, lads?
Alternative world where he lives.
I thought you said he was spongy. Wouldn't he just absorb the impact?
Just bounce straight off. Just pour some water on it. You know, like those things that you put in. Used to get them and you'd soak them in. You'd get them from like the Natural History Museum. You soak them in water and they become a flannel. And they cost about 15 quid. And have a picture of a dinosaur on. I imagine Gothmog like that. You can put a tiny little dehydrated Gothmog in water and then it's a full size orc.
I mean, that's kind of made. Well, they were made a bit like that, right?
Yeah. The Urukai are more kind of. The Urukai get cut out big old sacks, and then.
I can't believe this is the second time
I'll
the
be
word
honest.
sack has been used on this podcast.
I had one of those moments where, like, my attention span isn't great. Like, I had one of those moments where I just started staring off to the distance and thinking about things, like, because I'm on an episode of Scrubs or something, and then I just came back to Urukai just come out of big sacks, and I was like, what? Where are we now? What's happening?
Anyway,
apps.
other companion app games. I haven't played this one, but I've seen other people play it, and it looks quite cool. Beasts of Balance.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard of that.
Very much relies on an app. But yeah, looks very cool. Again, haven't played it, but
I really like the Unlock series. I think I've said that a few times on this Padlock podcast. That uses a really like unintrusive companion app. Every now and again, you'll like fiddle around with a little machine, but apart from that, you're literally just you're just sort of like inputting codes, and it just furthers the game. There's one in the more recent boxes where like you can also do like augmented reality stuff on the cards. Mm-hmm. So like you can hold the camera on your phone, and it will change what you see on the card based on what you're looking at. Stuff like you might like scan a flashlight around a dark room or something like that, which is quite cool.
Yeah, you're like Batman in the Arkham Asylum series.
That's the one.
Chronicles of Crime, I think, does it?
I've
not played it myself, but
QR
is that
codes.
VR? Yeah, you scan it and then you get a VR thing to look around and look at the environment and things like that. So they're doing interesting things beyond just, instead of a deck of cards, here's an app that does stuff. Sorry,
I like. There's a game that I have called Forests of Fate, which is all right. It was super cheap, and it's good to fun. Good to fun. Good to play. My housemate really likes it, because you can just have a drink and sort of. It's like a choose your own adventure game where you have characters and stats and things, and then you basically choose what you want to do in each situation, and you input what you're doing into the app, and the app is like, this is what happens. Woo. So like you go to pet a bear or something, and then the bear like bites your arm off.
that happened to me.
Rude.
Whoa.
Seriously,
I really like that. I also really like One Night Ultimate Werewolves companion app. I think that's so good because it just manages all the stuff for you. Like you just press who you play, like which characters you're playing with, like, and then you just press go and it just does the timer.
Is it optional, right?
It is optional. You don't have to play using it, but it just means that you don't need to have someone do that. You can just have the app do it for you, so everyone can actually do the fun bit of the game. And also it has like spooky voices and stuff. I love that stuff. Yeah, like that, exactly like that.
I didn't know Lolies did all the voices.
I'm a voiceover actor.
Disclaimer. All right. I'll read this next one from James the Unsanctioned Buffoon on Twitter. Thanks, James. So, RPGs that use custom dice like Fantasy Flight's various systems. Does the quality of the mechanics outweigh the downside of dice going out of print, etc.? I'll say here, and open strong, I think custom dice are unnecessary. There are some really good games that use custom dice, but there's really no need for custom dice. You can make anything work with a normal die. So there are certain times where they're handy, where if it's like Betrayal, where they only have 1 or 2 pips on each side, so it's obviously calculated towards those numbers. Like Mansions of Madness uses them, so they're either like blank or a clue or a thing. But most games you can sub in normal dice. I think typically there's nothing about custom dice that would be lost by using normal dice.
I really like custom dice. I think they're really like it stops you having to reference things. Basically, I think they're just a lot quicker because you can put your own iconography on. I think it's a lot more intuitive to be like, say you were playing, I don't know, like some kind of like rolling game where you had like 10 dice in your hand, you're rolling them all and getting the results or something, like a pushy luck game, you know, like zombie dice or whatever. If I had to like look at all the things and go like, okay, that's a 3, which means this. Like you instantly remember like, oh, that's the bad symbol. Like if I was playing Escape, for example, where like time is a really important thing because it's real time. You only play the game for 10 minutes. Like they have custom dice because it's like, okay, I've rolled this symbol, I need these symbols to do this thing. Whereas like if it was 1s and 5s and stuff, it might not feel quite as like instant for your brain to latch on. I think I'm a lot better with pictures and being able to like see, okay, or even color, like seeing like the black idol. I know that's bad now and I have to move that to the side. Whereas like trying to interpret numerical stuff and like looking at a reference card wouldn't be quite as intuitive.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Okay, I'll revise my position. Maybe just RPGs in particular, I think.
Yeah,
yes.
No, RPGs
Yeah. No, I think I'm exactly the same. I think board game's fine because you've got everything you need in the box, like, and everyone can play using that. RPGs, the big problem I'd have would be, unlike a lot of RPGs that are designed to be accessible as possible, you literally just need some dice and a PDF to play it. Like, to me, it just seems custom dice is another, like, hurdle you have to get over, or wall you have to, like, you know, climb in order to play it, and I just think that's not great. Also, yeah, like, when things go out of print, it's really annoying trying to get access to that stuff, because essentially, like, you're missing potentially a huge part of the game. Like, it's gone, and that ain't doing nobody any good.
I have no opinion, but I think Wheels' opinion is probably the opinion I would lean towards.
Is this a first?
Wow.
Yeah, jeez, that's quite an honour.
When the question was asked, I was like, I don't know. And then Matt made a point, and I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And then Wheels made a point, I was like, yeah, that's a good point. And then Matt came around to Wheels' point, so I was like, okay, I'm going with Wheels' point.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me is like if you are buying a box of stuff and it has custom dice in, absolutely fine. But like if you require custom dice to play an RPG like the Star Wars stuff from Fantasy Flight, that feels really, really crappy.
Yeah.
Because like the whole point of an RPG is that like you just have the tools that everyone has, right? And you can do so much with those things. Yeah. And I don't mind if you've got like custom decks of cards and stuff like that. That's fine.
Yeah.
But, like, dice feel a bit over the top.
The more accessible things are, like, the better at the end of the day. Like if you can just grab a PDF and start playing an RPG, perfect.
Because like I would, sorry to hop on, but also I would imagine that the whole point of the custom dice in Star Wars and stuff is that like sometimes numbers can be a bit confusing, and like having like a whole D20 worth of results of all of the pluses and minuses, I can understand why you'd want to take away from that. But then I look at some of the Star Wars RPG stuff and it's like, there's 8 different colours of dice. One of them does this thing, the other does this thing. You roll them all at the same time and then interpret the results, but you have to interpret the results differently based on what colour the dice is. And it's like, what is this?
Yeah. Really, it should be boiled down to, will you say gonk? Or will you say gonk?
Are you saying honk or gonk? Because those are the two options. That should be a Lasers and Feelings edit of like
honk or gonk.
If you're rolling honk, then you go above. If you're rolling gonk, you go below.
Everyone is playing as gonk droids.
All right, Lolies, do you want to read this last one from Sam Dolby?
Sam Dolby, yes. If you're going to host a game night for friends or family that are relatively new to the hobby, which RPG, board and card game would you choose?
I think we can boil this down to what would you play at like a board game night where you're introducing people. I think I mentioned earlier Point Salad is a great card game. Sushi Go's absolutely in that realm as well. I think in terms of RPGs, actually, like Will's just mentioned, Lasers and Feelings. That's a really great RPG, like really simple system. You roll over or you roll under, but it's a really great kind of solid system that doesn't feel like shallow. It just feels kind of simple. And in terms of board game, I think Azul is kind of the go-to
Azul's great,
thing.
yeah.
It's quite competitive, so...
Yeah. I think I'd keep it even simpler than that and do something like Marrakesh, or... Like, I like to pick games that are, like, related to, like, mainstream games that, like, most people would recognise, and then just kind of build on that. I just keep it, like, as simple as possible, and then...
I tend to, like, if I'm introducing someone to something they've not done before, like board games, I'll try and find out what they like theme wise, because that goes a whole long way to making them be interested. Because if it's like a thing that they're new to, but also a theme that they don't really care about, they're like. Whereas it's like, okay, you like space pirates. Have I got a game for you? We're going to be a space pirate, and they're like, oh, cool, yeah, all right, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know?
I've got 2 words for you. Rhino Hero.
Rhino
Yep.
Hero.
That's a good
Also,
one.
My mum is obsessed with Rhino Hero.
In a similar vein, Happy Salmon. I thought you were going to go with Happy Salmon.
No,
Like, when you said
no.
2 words, that's the game that came to my mind.
Happy Salmon
Yeah.
actually is the game where one of my friends never liked board games. Like, she had like friends who were into board games, she never was interested. And then at my housewarming a couple of years ago, I whipped out Happy Salmon and we had a big old game of it. And she plays more board games than I do now. And Happy Salmon is the game
Sorry,
that got her in.
you whipped out your Happy Salmon, really got me.
It's a gesture of friendship.
It is.
Yeah.
Happy Salmon potentially hard to play at the moment though, with the whole social
I
distancing
would
thing.
love to know what a video call version of Happy Salmon looks like.
You could probably do this as long as you're matching someone else
You have to
over
be like
video.
this.
You could. Oh,
Please,
I don't know that
no.
at all. That's not.
No. That's a high quality recording you're making of that. People are going to have to listen to that.
Meehan, jumping back to Rhino Hero, would you recommend Rhino Hero or Rhino Hero Super Battle?
Rhino Hero.
Hero.
Super
Battle,
Battle, Rhino Hero, Super Battle. That's going to sound great.
Honestly, I would say start with Rhino Hero and then go on to Super Battle. Because, like, Super Battle is just a slightly more complicated version of Rhino Hero. That's it.
Yeah.
So Spider Monkeys, though.
Opinion
Yeah,
set.
just-
Done.
Yeah, they're monkeys. Yeah, you got to get the monkeys.
Similar vein, King Domino to Queen Domino. Also,
Never played
King
him.
Domino, very simple. I love them to bits. We should play them sometime.
Yes. we should.
Oh, I will
Talk-
say that Rhino Hero is 2 player, isn't it? And then...
No.
No, it's
No?
not.
Oh, never mind, sorry.
We play
Super
Rhino
Battle...
Hero with more than 2 people.
No, Super Battle is 4 player.
No,
But...
Rhino
No.
Hero is more
Yeah.
than two
Okay,
people.
no, my
Yeah,
bad.
yeah,
I haven't played the original, I've just played Super
Come
Battle.
on, man.
Wheels, come on.
Sorry, man. I just pressed a button. Great. So that's all that UI is now going to come up on screen, so that's
Yeah.
good.
Just hitting like the eject button.
Eject,
Gotta get
eject.
out of this conversation.
No, I did such a big gesture that I accidentally knocked the keyboard. Right,
Cool. All right. I think that's pretty much all we have time for. But what do we have coming up over the next week on the video channel, Wheels and Lolies?
Well,
You know this happens every podcast.
by the time this comes out, we'll have had a short video that I did on Frosthaven, the new game by Cephalora Games. Is that how you say it?
Cephalofair, I think.
Cephalofair.
Yeah.
Yeah, I try. We'll have done
It's
a
a lot of syllables.
live painting stream. This is coming out Friday. Then it's the last episode of Deadlands on Saturday 3 p.m. before
Say
we go
goodbye
back to
to
Dungeon
John
Breaker,
Virtue.
which awaits a little surprise.
Oh!
I'm not saying anything more than that. And Sunday we've got your list.
Yeah, my list of
Wheels.
solo RPGs that we talked quite a lot about at the start, so if you're interested in that, then come and join us for that.
Ooh.
Mhm.
How
Cool.
exciting.
How about,
As I said,
how
I
about
will be
over
reading a poem.
on the website things?
Over on the website, there's an interview piece now with Mark Rosewater, who's the head designer of Magic the Gathering. Kind of just running through. He's been there over 20 years. He's kind of after Richard Garfield, who created Magic the Gathering, moved on from Wizards of the Coast, he kind of became like the public face of Magic, and has been in that position for a long old time. But it was kind of I spoke to him about just kind of his day-to-day life, and he is someone that is absolutely just committed to that game. It's like he wakes up, he's answering questions on Twitter, he's doing polls. He then does his day job involved with Magic the Gathering, and then he goes home, he's recording a podcast about Magic in the car, and he gets home, and in between doing things with his family, he's like writing a blog post about Magic the Gathering. And
I finally found my antithesis.
It's just he's
Wow.
he's a really lovely guy to speak to. He's clearly full of passion. He really cares about the game, and he cares about the people that play that game. So I found it really interesting to chat with him. So that's now live. We have a preview of the latest D&D set coming up from one Alex Meehan, who I've never heard of. Don't know who that is.
I was wondering when in the podcast Meehan would do her signature look to the side.
Yeah.
It's becoming a bit
well
of a
It's one of my calling cards. Yeah, I'm excited. Yes. Mythic
Yes.
Odysseys. Thingy.
So excited, she's got no words.
Left
No,
Theros, Beyond
it's
Theros,
ba-
something like that.
Yeah, Theros, that's it. It's based on the Magic the Gathering expansion of the same name, Mr.
Yeah.
Jones?
a similar name.
Yeah,
it's not exactly the same name, I don't think. So.
It is. You know what it is. Based on like Greek mythology and stuff, which I'm super into. As the team knows. So I'm looking forward to talking about, playing as like satyrs and stuff.
Cool.
And speaking of D&D, we have a fantastic list, also by one Alex Meehan, already on the website, which is of the best D&D board games.
Yeah.
So go and check that out if you're looking for kind of a taste of D&D without having to go all in on
just
writing
a little
campaign.
Just a little nibble.
Just
How
Not
many
like
of
a full-on.
How many of them allow you to play as Minsk and Boo? Because that's pretty much my only requirement.
There's Betrayal at Baldur's Gate, which it does.
It has a
feature Minsk and
reference,
Boo.
yeah.
And I believe there's a Baldur's Gate expansion for Dungeon Mayhem that adds
Yes,
them as
there
well.
is. Yes, there is. Yeah,
Yes,
there you go.
so
There you go.
more than one is the answer. There's also a great opinion piece which went up, I think it might have been last week at this point, by Matt Frewer, kind of looking at legacy games, kind of in the wake of Risk Legacy, which is almost 10 years ago now, and then obviously Pandemic Legacy, and how they had a lot of promise, but it hasn't always been fulfilled by a lot of the games that came out. But also looking at Oath, which we also have a video of, which is it you and I, Wills, chatting about Oath?
Yeah.
And your
Yeah,
experience?
that was Today We Played, we did together, wasn't it? Back before the end times.
Back before the end times.
And what publisher is releasing Oath?
Leader
also their
Games.
games,
And what do we also have a video? You see, look, this is like branching paths. It's all linking back round.
Me and if we keep doing this podcast will never end.
They did Fort, they did Root, but this piece is looking at Legacy Games, and it's a really great read. And then we've got plenty more coming up in the coming weeks.
There's always more.
There is always more.
news,
Always
more
more to
features.
plug at the end of this podcast. But to avoid the plugging, we will end it there. So thank you very much for joining me, Alex Meehan.
It has been a pleasure, Mr. Jarvis.
Thank you for joining Alex Lolies.
Thank you for having me on the 117th episode of
117th.
Dicebreaker.
Interesting.
Surely,
thank you,
surely
Will.
just the 11th. Thanks for having me on the 11th podcast episode of Dicebreaker Podcast.
I've been Matt Jarvis. Everybody stay safe out there. Support Black Lives Matter when you can. Obviously, stay safe at protests and amidst the pandemic. And we will see you back here, same time next week for the Dicebreaker podcast. But until then, have a lovely day.
Bye.